Hello and welcome to the Comic Book Communicast, the official podcast of the Google Plus comic book community. This is issue number 49 for the week of October 1st, 2014. I'm Justin Beeson. I'm joined by co-host Sarah Evans.
Hey.
And special guest host Michelle Pease.
Hi.
Each week we take a look at our poll list and pick the comic that we're most excited to read and then review it here, whether it's good or bad. And then we'll also go over any other significant issues and news from the past week. So let's get right into it. Sarah, why don't you go first? What was your pick?
My pick this week was Rat Queens number 8. And it was funny, even though I know that I've been reading them chronologically and that, yes, 8 is the next one that we were due for and this is the most current issue, it felt like there was a bit of a disconnect between like the previous story with Niragoth. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Giant Cthulhu god monster attacking the city, and what happened in this issue, because I mean it was a really good issue. It gave the Violet backstory, the dwarf fighter who shaves her beard, that we've all kind of been wondering about, because we've got some exposition on D, we've got some exposition on, well actually we're kind of lacking it on the other two as well, but I don't know, I guess maybe this arc is the start of them kind of deepening the characters background-wise, because Violet's brother has shown up in the issues before, wanting her to like go back home to her family. So it was evident that she left like abruptly, which is something she and Dee have in common, I suppose. Honestly, I wonder if all of the characters don't have that going on, and that's one of the reasons why they're so close. But yeah, it was pretty good story about what inspired Violet to leave her home and basically rebel against Dwarvish tradition and do her own thing and basically become the fighter that she knew she was, that maybe her family and her culture didn't totally appreciate all the time. So it was great. But after that was over, there were about 2 pages where it showed basically Hannah trying to drag her away from some glowing purple evil that she was that she was yelling for her not to look at. So I suppose that she looked at the giant Cthulhu god, and that's what inspired the flashback. But it seemed kind of abrupt that suddenly they're fighting it. We just saw it start to appear in the last issue, which honestly it feels like a long time since that one came out too. I know I've been like waiting like every week, like surely Rat Queens will come out this week, maybe this one, maybe this one. I feel like it's been about a month and a half.
There were some delays from all the
and I know they're
stuff.
in negotiations for a TV show, so that might have put a bit of a hold on things. Yeah. Well, I mean that's cool, but I mean, I really love it. It's one of the things that I really actually look forward to reading in my pull box. But yeah, maybe it's because it's been such a long time since the last issue is why it felt kind of abrupt with the Violet thing. So hopefully they'll get to kick some butt in the next issue.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this issue. I thought they handled the backstory really well. And the one thing that always gets me is, I mean, they don't curse a whole lot, but just the times that they use profanity and the language, it always has me laughing. He has a real handle on when to insert it for comedic effect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they curse really capably. It's entertaining.
All right, so that was Rat Queens number 8. So Michelle, what did you come on the show to talk about?
Oh, I just because Gotham Academy just came out, and I'm kind of a sucker for anything like Teen Sleuth and spooky stuff. And of course, it's October now, so anything relating to ghosts and mysteries and teens solving mysteries about ghosts and then Batman maybe is kind of nice. And this is a good story. They're very much teenagers. I think whoever wrote this definitely has the diction of a teenager down pretty pat. Some of the stuff that Olive talks about, like whenever you get into Olive's head, it sounds like it could have been taken out of my diary when I was 15 and angsty. And though I'm sure Olive is going through something bad because they're hinting that something happened to her mom possibly that's Batman related. But the art is really, really good. Now, so I can't really say exactly how I feel about it unless I get to the second one, because right now Olive has just been kind of like moody, and she just got out of her shell, so this is probably when we're going to get character development in the next issue. So.
Yeah, for me it will be a wait and see as well. I wasn't completely sold on this issue, although I thought it interesting that one, they have Olive seemingly completely scared of Batman, and two, that she saw the connection between Batman and Bruce immediately.
Wait, did she?
Well, I mean,
that.
so at the end, like, there's one panel where it's this big shadow of a bat, and then like she catches herself, and then it's Bruce standing there.
Oh, I totally got it. Yeah.
And she was just
I
completely freaked
that.
because she thought it was Batman.
Yeah, like I'm guessing that maybe her mom died and Batman couldn't save her or something. Is what I'm thinking, maybe. But yeah, oh man, she did see Batman.
That seems way too easy after the whole Tim Drake thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I know when she kind of fell down off of the Belfry. That was really cute. Or Belfry, whatever. And Bruce kind of like turns around and says her name. I was like, wow, good job, Bruce. You remember like every teenager you run into is Batman.
Really?
Yeah.
Because usually he completely ignores all of the teenagers in his life.
Yeah, because he just kind of like turns around and goes, Olive. And I'm like, dang, he remembers? Maybe it's because her name is Olive. And
maybe Alfred was also in the room and he was thinking, we should paint these walls olive.
But no, I'm a little concerned because just, Batman, keep the adopting orphans thing, keep it down, tone it down a little. Please don't adopt another one, because I think he's starting to kind of like rack them up.
Maybe. Oh, I haven't even gotten to read it yet. I got distracted with the other ones, but I'm continually impressed with, at this point, what I know, like all that I know of the book, is the creativity in the character design, because it wasn't until today that I realized that the character was named Olive Silverlock, and she has silver hair, and as Michelle pointed out, olive skin, and her friend Maps, who likes to draw maps.
Hey,
so
it's like a Scooby-Doo kind of mystery thing.
Well, I get that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's cute. I'm sure they're
tone.
trying to be very relatable to younger readers, which is refreshing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a teen detective thing. So, like any of those old school detective noir films, there's always some guy like, Brady, Guns McCoy. There's always some kind of a nickname. So I'm assuming that's what's going on. And
you're right. It does fit the setting of it. Pardon me. I'm just making fun of the
the Silverlocks.
Connection
I was like,
there.
That probably would have been one of the names I would be obsessed with at the age of 15 again.
That's
so.
Here every day.
But as I mentioned before, I think it would go really well for the target audience, considering. So.
Well, it's about time that something does for that target audience.
Yeah. And Kershaw art is great. So.
Oh yeah, the art is amazing, and
How about you, Justin?
A lot of buzz.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. Yeah, we're dealing with lag like usual, but yeah, the book's been getting a lot of buzz, and I think it's going to do well. Do you happen to have the name of the artist in front of you? I know it's written by Becky Cloonan and I think Brendan Fleischer or something like that, but I don't remember who the artist was.
Yeah, I have the artist. Carl. His name is Carl Kerschel, and he also, I've been following his webcomic, The Abominable Charles Christopher. It's a really cute webcomic, kind of a Gilgamesh story, but so it was nice to see his name on there again, him doing DC Comics again. So. because
Cool. Yeah, it's really
he did
good.
the art for Teen Titans issue.
Mhm.
All right, so that's Gotham Academy #1. My pick for this week is Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier #1. So this
Ooh.
one, the creators on this mean it was an immediate buy. I didn't even care what it was. So it's Alice Cott, who's doing Zero, which is his like spy comic from Image, which is really, really good. He also does Secret Avengers. And then the artist is Marco Rudy, who hasn't done a whole lot of stuff that I know, but he does a lot of painted art. He did the Marvel Knights Spider-Man, which I talked about a few of the issues on here, and it's just really unique art. Like I said, it's painted. With the Marvel Knights Spider-Man, he did like mixed media too, so there was some charcoal, there was some inks. So we'll see if he does any of that with this. He doesn't in this issue. And his layouts are always non-traditional. He never does like grid panels or anything. It's always incorporating the art to separate the story beats and stuff. Um, and I mean it's in full effect here. And so it's a Winter Soldier comic, but basically it takes off from Original Sin. So in Original Sin, it's revealed that the old Nick Fury kind of old Nick Fury that has been in hiding that we see here and there in Marvel Comics. Those were actually life model decoys, and Nick Fury is basically like a decrepit old man. And he's been hanging out in the satellite, and what he's been doing, basically his whole career in Shield, behind the scenes, is he's been assassinating and kind of preemptively striking threats to Earth, whether it be in other dimensions, in crazy planets. And so part of Original Sin was he was like, okay, well, somebody has to take my place because I'm about to die because he's getting old. And that person is Bucky. So this comic takes off. It kind of throws you right into the action. He's on a mission, chained up, and he ends up getting out of it and taking out this
Ooh, really?
dictator. And it's kind of funny because there's a lot of there's some political commentary on here because he's basically taking out a dictator, and he's like, all right, he's gone. You guys get some democracy. I'm out of here.
Oh
And
my
leaves.
gosh.
Looks
So-
like you guys could use some freedom.
Yeah, basically. And he's like, I don't care what you do now. This was my job. He was a threat. So he leaves. And then the rest of the issue, it kind of jumps to him recruiting an ex-Shield director who was friends with Nick Fury. Her name's Daisy. And then it jumps into what I'm assuming is going to be the first arc. And he teams up with Namor to try and stop this underwater smuggling run with some crazy drug, and then they find out that Loki's behind it, and then there's a big cliffhanger at the end of the issue. I won't spoil that because it's kind of weird with everything that happens, but it looks like they're going to go to Asgard next to try and find Loki. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like I said, the art is amazing. There are a couple times where it gets a little confusing because he gets so fluid with the cells because they're not really cells. So you will see if the two creators kind of get in sync a little bit more. But it's definitely very promising, and I'll be following this, for a few issues at least to see how it ends up.
That sounds
But
really
I
good.
recommend
Actually.
anybody check it out.
Sorry, lag.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, Marvel's released a lot of kind of so-so #1s over the last few months, and some of them have turned out to be great series. But it sounds like this one really hit the ground running. Honestly, I might have to check that out. That sounds really good.
It's super good. And there's a inner monologue running throughout the whole thing of Bucky, kind of talking about. It's kind of his mission statement for the whole thing, and it's just really good. Alice Cott is a very interesting writer. Just the way he thinks and relates it in the comic books. He's very unique and really good. at this point, he's one of those creators where I'll pick up any number one just to see how it is. And this, like I said, this one looks real promising. So that's our picks for this week. Sarah, what else? What else did you pick up?
To my surprise, there wasn't much in my inbox after all. Honestly, I was really glad that Gotham Academy happened to still be on the shelves because we were both looking forward to that. But I think both of us forgot to add it to our pull list to make sure that we got it. But hey, no trouble there. Thor #1 was sadly gone from the shelves, so I'll have to try to figure out another way to get my hands on that. But aside from Rat Queens, the new X-Men was out today. I think they're starting to leave Jubilee and Child arc behind. The art, I mean, it continues to be really good. It was very, very 90s meets, I don't know, FF, like the more recent series in this issue. And who was the art? It was by Harvey Tollebaut and Dexter Soy. Okay. So yeah, no, I guess I didn't notice the shift. Maybe they have similar art styles, or I just don't know the artists. But I haven't really looked deeply into that one yet. One I kind of picked up on a whim was Black Widow 11 because it had X-23 on the front cover, and the art is by Phil Noto, who is amazing, and I loved him on X-23's series and in a few other things that he's done. And I mean, I love it. His art is amazing. The colors were beautiful in this one. I mean, I don't know if this is a constant with the Black Widow series because, I mean, she's not one of my favorite superheroines, so I didn't automatically, rush out to pull the series on She-Hulk. But I mean, it's really pretty. It's almost like, I don't want to say watercolor. It's just there's not a lot of hard black lines, in Phil Noto art style. He usually saves that for the details on his characters' faces. And everything just really blends really fluidly into each other, which is good when you've got a couple of heroines in this comic who are doing a lot of acrobatics and flipping around places in their capacity of taking out thugs. And, actually, this issue kind of made me like Black Widow a little bit because, I mean, her backstory has been pretty unfathomable to me and I think to a lot of writers over the decades. And she just always seemed kind of cold and kind of like you couldn't get inside her head, which is why I haven't really ever found relatable or that interesting. But seeing her working with Laura was kind of like an eye-opener because they both were really the same in a lot of ways, like the way that they were behaving on a mission and with each other totally passes the Bechdel test. I just really love the interaction that they're running between these two. It's Nathan Edmondson writing, of course. But it suddenly hit me that, I love X-23. They're both superheroines who went through a lot of trauma and, a lot of violence as children, and they had to grow up really fast, and it's kind of made them the warriors and the people that they are today. And I was like, okay, I kind of get where Black Widow is coming from now. And so I'm glad I pulled this, and especially if X-23 continues to guest star, I might start making the series a constant.
Cool. Yeah, I've kind of dipped in and out of that one, but Phil Noto's art is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So Michelle, did you pick up anything else this week?
No, I didn't. I titles and in the Ghost Rider, but I think I missed that one. I'm not sure. I think that was last week.
Okay.
Sorry, this time it was just Gotham Academy.
All right, so yeah,
I am excited about X-23.
Sorry, go on.
Go on.
Okay, yeah, so it was a pretty large week for me. Some of the significant ones. Adventure Time number 32. For some reason, this got delayed a little bit, I guess, because it's been 5 or 6 weeks since the last one, so it felt like it's been a while since I've read it. American Vampire second cycle number 5. This one I've been looking forward to because it's half prose, so and it's a one-off. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. Because I mean, Scott Snyder was originally a prose writer, and I think it's been a while since he's done it. So I'm curious to see how that turns out. The Fade Out #2, Ed Brubaker's new series. The first one was amazing. Looking forward to reading that.
No.
Gotham Academy, which we already talked about.
No.
Men of Breath, #1, which is a new creator-owned from Jason Aaron and Ron Garney. I have no idea what it's about. I just know it takes place in the South, and Jason Aaron at this point is just a blind buy for #1s no matter what. Raccoon's #8. I did read Thor #1. It was a little aggravating because it looks like they're gonna tease out the identity of the new Thor, and also the reason why Thor is unworthy. It looks like they're gonna stretch that out for a while. And I mean, this issue is basically still all Thor. It's kind of like focusing on the fallout from Original Sin, and just kind of him transitioning into being the hammerless Thor, and then the arc is gonna take center around Ice Giants and Malekith's back, and the new Thor doesn't come in till the very last page, I read a couple things on Bleeding Cool, and it sounds like we're not gonna find out the identity anytime soon, so we'll see how it goes. But I have faith in Jason Aaron.
Yeah. I thought they already revealed who the new Thor was, though. Didn't they?
No,
I thought it was that girl
woman.
Neil Gaiman created.
No, that was his. That turned out to be his and Loki's sister.
Oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
Yep.
Yeah. No. Well, thanks for the warning. I'll probably wait and see how the series goes so far. So not knowing much about the character of Thor, I know I'm a really bad Jack Kirby, etc. fan, but essentially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in like his origin movie way back a few years ago, because he wasn't worthy to wield the hammer of Thor. I mean, he was still Thor. He was still, himself that whole time, but obviously the movies don't have the same complicated backstory and disconnect between like these, Asgardians and the humans that they sometimes think they are / are and are possessing them / are not. So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's meant to be. They're really dancing around it. But also, I mean, the other thing, like the dynamic has shifted it's Asgardia now. Because Odin has been in exile, and he just came back, but Freya has been the All-Mother. She's been the matriarch of their society, and Odin comes back. He's like, all right, I'm back. I'll assume control, and Freya's like, no, I'm running things. You just, you can be back, whatever, but it's my show now. So I think it's like a shift in control, a shift in power, and it kind of fits in with it. So, I mean, I'm going to see where it goes because, and honestly, I didn't know much about Thor either. I hopped on with Jason Aaron's first #1, I guess it's been a couple years now, and that's the first 12 issues are one of my favorite runs in comics over the last few years.
Wow.
It's really good. I definitely recommend checking it out. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to see where they go. The last one was, I thought Wonder Woman 34 was going to come out today, which is Azzarello and Chang's last issue. And so I'm really curious to see how they're going to conclude all that. But nowhere to be found. So I guess next week. It's still, I mean, DC still says this week, but it's not online and it wasn't at my shop, so kind of curious about that.
Huh.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. So that was this week's comics. Time to get to news, and we're kind of shuffling around a little bit. So from now on, basically each host, if they have one, is going to pick a story from the past week that kind of popped out at them, and we'll go over those first and then kind of go over the rest of the news later. Just so happens that this week was pretty slow. I'll go with mine first because Sarah's, I feel like, is going to generate a little more discussion.
What?
So
I don't know what you mean.
so my story of the week is it kind of Bleeding Cool posted about it, but you can find out in the solicits. Basically, it looks like Batman is going to be regularly priced at $4.99 now.
Oh.
It's not just a price hike, and I mean they've been doing it actually on and off, kind of randomly over the past year because Scott Snyder always goes over his pages, and then if even if it's like 3 extra pages or 4 extra pages, they'll still bump it up to $5. So now it's $5, but it's 30 pages of story, which means 22 pages goes back to 22 pages of main story and then an 8-page backup. And if it were just a price hike, I would be mad. But we're getting more content. And Scott Snyder is one thing he did with him and on the backups with anyways, and now we're guaranteed 30 pages. So that's a third more than other DC books are giving you at $3.99. So it's not all bad. I'm just being optimistic. But what do you guys think about the $4.99 price point?
Are you already pulling Batman?
Yeah. I've been ever since I got back into comics. Was basically right after the New 52 started. I've been pulling Batman.
Okay. Well, I mean, don't take offense to this, please, because I mean, I don't mean it as a reflection on the majority of guys that read comics in general, or the guys I know who read comics, and I know some girls who talk this way as well. But it seems like you can always, I don't know, you can always tell who thinks that Batman is the coolest and the most invincible and like the end-all, be-all, unbeatable, like up on a pedestal, greatest superhero of all time. And I can definitely see that type of fan paying $5 for a Batman book, especially if they're getting a little more story in return. I'm currently not willing to pay $3.99 for as much of a Batman book as they're currently distributing. So maybe it's just because the character is a bit of a turnoff for me personally. The rest of the Batman universe is great in my opinion, except for Batman. And I know that wasn't necessarily the topic of discussion, but just to give a little background as to why, I don't know, I would background, excuse me, my enunciation. But so I might not necessarily pull it even for that price that it was previously, let alone what it is now, but that's just where I'm coming from on the series. And I guess it'll be, I don't know, if they start raising the price on other books, pretty much the only DC title I'm pulling right now is Harley Quinn, so honestly, I might still pull it if it were raised to $4.99, so, and they gave extra story per issue, so I can definitely see where you're coming from. That seems really fair if you're into the comic already, yeah.
Well, for me, that would push me over to waiting for the trades. If it goes to $5, then I'm that person who's like, oh, but a trade will have 6 issues for $24 or for $20, and that's going to end up being cheaper. So then, I would end up going for the trade paperback instead. But I'm one of those financially minded,
Yeah, you're more frugal anyway. Wait, does
Honest-
anyone else remember the days when trades used to be 6 issues? Because I miss those days. I'm trying to get my hands on the rest of the X Factor investigation series now that it's over, and it's like towards the end they started putting like 4 issues in a trade and charging like $18 for it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems like it depends on the publisher. The Marvel trade, like the Marvel hardcovers and trades, they're usually around 6 issues. DC's around there too. They're 5 or 6. And honestly, like, Batman's probably read better in trade, anyways. But I mean, I'm the type of person that like I need to. If the story's out, I need to read it. And DC, like, they take forever to put, and because they put out hardcover first,
Yeah.
and seriously like take like 6 months to put out a hardcover from the last issue, and then a few months after that is a
No,
trade.
that's true.
So there's just no way I could wait. But yeah, like Snyder writes really long, deep stories, so I would assume that it reads a lot better in trade anyways. But yeah, like I was saying, it depends on the publisher. Boom, like when they put out stuff, theirs are only 4. And Image is usually around 5 issues. And it's just, and those, it's funny because those are kind of independent, but it just works out to where I've noticed that like it just depends on the publisher.
Yeah, and Scott Snyder, did he do Gates of Gotham before the New 52 ended?
I don't know. He sounds really familiar.
Okay, so he did Detective Comics right at the end. That was where Dick was still Batman. And the storyline was called Black Mirror. It was like 11-issue thing, really, really good. I believe he helped plot Gates of Gotham, but the actual writer, I mean, he has a credit on it, but I think it was just for story and like helping out with that. But the actual writer was Kyle Higgins, who did Nightwing.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense considering the kind of snark that went on. Okay. Yeah, because I was noticing that because I remember seeing his name like very prominent on those comics, and the writing seemed different. So I was thinking, gosh, he's changed since then. So that makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the same with Batman Eternal. He gets a big billing on there, but he's just doing story, and other writers are doing the actual scripts because he sells comics. So
yeah.
So yeah, that was my story. Sarah, why don't you tell us about your story of the week?
Okay.
Cat butt.
Sorry. I bet you didn't know we had Lois Lane as a correspondent. But okay, so essentially in news this week, I'm pretty sure it's made the rounds on various forums, and people have had their opinion on it one way or another. But just to kind of reiterate. For Communicast purposes. I'm sorry, Justin, my screen just froze like when you were in the middle of blinking, and it looks like you're just smirking your face off, and it's really funny. Okay, it's back to normal. Sorry. But essentially, DC marketing in conjunction with Walmart and, I mean, lesser known to a degree, I suppose, because I hadn't heard of the baby clothes situation at Target until I read one particular article. But with a couple different distributors, he's been putting out some interesting T-shirts. And like I said in an article I was reading, put it really well. Like, if you just hear, retrospectively that DC has been making T-shirts and even like workout shirts marketed towards women, and they're putting Wonder Woman on a men's T-shirt, you'd think that would be really good when you hear it, but I mean, the devil's in the details. So I mean, I guess I'll restate for maybe like one person living in Denmark who's been without electricity all week or something and is unaware. It's essentially a guy's T-shirt with it's from that cover of Justice League that kind of went viral around the time that they were announcing the Superman Wonder Woman relationship, and they were trying to sell it really, really hard, as evidently these still are. They basically cut out the main portion of that has basically from the thigh area up, Superman embracing Wonder Woman, and even with the lasso involved, I just thought she looked kind of stiff as a board and kind of uninterested. during that entire pose. I swear, even aside from the subject matter, just the posing in that art is one of my banes. So that's like insult to injury with me for this whole t-shirt debacle. But they superimpose the captions over this picture of Superman and Wonder Woman in a supposedly passionate embrace. And the captions say, "Score," and "Superman does it again." So I know a lot of people have had issues with, the obvious sexual overtones, A, being applied to Superman where it doesn't really work, B, reducing Wonder Woman to an it who can be bagged or scored or otherwise achieved as opposed to her character, which honestly, interviews around the time that they announced this pairing, this seems consistent for me because it's like all the creators could do would be to talk about how great it was for Superman's character and how it would keep him fresh and relevant, and there was nothing from the Wonder Woman side about how she would handle the relationship. And obviously we saw like nothing of Superman in her standalone series until, hopefully that'll continue to be a thing because I think it would bring the story down no matter which direction it's heading. Although possibly make for less pornographic cover art. But yeah, the third thing really that people have been having a problem with on this t-shirt is that they've removed Wonder Woman's lasso from the picture. So not only is the art horribly awkward because while they're allegedly embracing, she just has her left arm out straight, stiff to the side, in a fist with her fingers turned up towards the audience. And it's the most unnatural looking thing that has not been drawn by Rob Liefeld in existence. And obviously her arm is supposed to be holding a rope taut as it lassos Superman, but what they've done is essentially not only delete Wonder Woman's traditional, publicized weapon and, a lot of, how she exercises her power, as well as, the sexual connotations of that, and B, the fact that, they basically removed her sexuality from the picture, as well as the weapon that could imply sexuality and anything that would, suggest her participation in this. So,
well, yeah, they
I'm not sure.
It's obliterated the power dynamic. Because at least with the lasso, it was implied that they were both,
right,
pulling each other
even
or
if
whatever.
she's completely stiff and her face is turned away and her eyes are closed, and she looks to me like she's having the least good time ever, while he just kind of embraces her like, I don't know, a caveman, but not the Superman that I've read. Without the lasso, it's even worse because, if not in expression, the lasso implied her action and not only participating, but, being enthusiastic about it and taking what she wanted and being, equal parts of this super-powered romantic / maybe sexual relationship. Because let us never forget the line from the Superman Wonder Woman series that I will never forget, where a side character said, "Superman and Wonder Woman dating, doing it probably."
Oh, so, mother fudge, piece of cake.
Sorry.
The cat just attacked me.
I don't think Lois Lane likes us discussing the Superman Wonder Woman relationship.
Yeah,
so.
the moment we started talking about Superman and Wonder Woman making out or whatever, Lois Lane the cat started attacking me, and I'm like, why, God? Why?
Where do you weigh in on shirt number 1, Justin?
I pretty much feel the exact same way as you did. It's just kind of gross, and is this one a youth shirt? Because
I know the second one, the one marketed towards women, was definitely in the teen section of Target. So not only are they trying to reach a younger audience with this, but they're trying to reach as wide of an audience as possible. And I don't know, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Does someone else want to elaborate on the second shirt?
Well, on the first one, can I just... Sorry. Can I just say, though, that Ma Kent would not be pleased with Superman for doing the score thing.
Oh, she'd be so ashamed. He'd be sleeping in the barn.
Yeah, so, you know, Ma Kent wouldn't be happy, or Pa. So,
So the second shirt, I actually like. I mean, just my initial reaction, without knowing that it was a teen shirt first, I didn't think anything was wrong with it. Like thinking that it was like an adult woman, because I like personally, my female friends all the time, they'll refer to like movie stars and stuff. Oh, that's my boyfriend or that's my husband. Whether it's like Ryan Gosling or somebody like that, and they'll do that all the time. Until I learned that it was a youth shirt, and it's like then it completely changes it. Because that's just demeaning, Boys get to train to be Batman. Girls don't get to be trained to be Batgirl. It could have it could have said trained to be Batgirl.
Exactly. There's so many well-known female superheroes that it could have gone to, but no, I mean, even if you're going by the Nolan movies where Batman and Selina get married at the end, I mean, you could have said training to be Catwoman or something.
Yeah, and, actually, I remember not too long ago there was a T-shirt at Walmart in the junior section, I know because I got it, that had Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Batgirl, and it was something along the lines of, like, we don't need men, girl power. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to for that, and that was there right next to all these other ones of like Wonder Girl and then a Wonder Woman one and then Batgirl, and in the girls section it was mostly that, and then you saw a Marvel comic T-shirt that said I only date superheroes. So now it's like it's twisted around a little.
Right. I'm sure everyone is an offender to some degree. Well, everyone, like both of the big two, because, I mean, they're the ones with the marketing, they're the ones that are the publicity. But do you suppose that that sort of thing might have kind of decreased as Disney bought Marvel and started merchandising off of it? No?
Still doing it. They're still doing it.
There's,
wow.
No, I think it's gotten different, though. If
I
you
mean,
read,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Justin.
Specifically with Marvel and Disney, if you actually read the Comics Alliance coverage of this, the writer worked for Disney or something, has some inside knowledge of it, and they like scrutinize this stuff really.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
It's linked in the show notes, and so you can look at it there.
Yeah, was that the one talking about like the
less
Frozen
likely to
magazine
happen.
layout that he had to reject?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, and this just seems idiotic from DC, especially with all the other stuff that's going on. And they released a statement basically apologizing and saying, "Oh, we find it offensive too, and we're looking at our licensing and product process to make sure it doesn't happen again." But it's just covering their asses. And I mean, hopefully,
Do you mind if I read it
hopefully
word for word? I
change.
have it in front of me.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so the statement that DC released said, quote, DC Comics is home to many of the greatest male and female superheroes in the world. Superheroes capitalized in 2 words, I don't know why. You'd think they have editors at their disposal. All of our fans are incredibly important to us, and we understand that the messages on certain t-shirts are offensive. We agree. Our company is committed to empowering boys and girls, men and women, through our characters and our stories. Accordingly, we are taking a look at our licensing and product design process to ensure that all our consumer products reflect our core values and philosophy. Now, I don't know, it seems like a very nice thing for them to come out and say, because usually DC does not have a great, if any, response to fan backlash towards alleged sexism on their parts, either in comics or in merchandising or what have you. But I feel as though, possibly the people who make the calls in DC marketing and especially editorial when it comes down to individual issues don't have the same idea of what empowers boys and girls and men and women, because I feel like whoever came up with the shirt thought it was being very empowering for young girls to someday dream of being Batman's wife, because Batman is strong, attain that, if you can, I don't know.
Well, it's called, there's a term for it called enlightened sexism, where basically it's like marketing as girl power. So it's like, yeah, girl power, training to be Batman's wife. So it's like you're training, you're cool, you're going to be like top of the line for Batman's wife, you know, not training to be Batwoman or Batgirl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like it's enlightened because they're like, look, it's girl power, it's cool, we're not sexist, but it's still sexism because there's still some connotations in there. So,
not to mention that DC's core values and philosophy, which they cited at the end there, not only did they state quite plainly around the time of the reboot that currently markets to 18 to 35-year-old straight white cis heterosexual, I said straight and heterosexual, young men, doesn't really include any other demographic that might be reading their comics, which is where I feel some of the oversight is here. Like maybe their core values and philosophy need to be re-examined by the people in charge, like maybe Mr. Didio.
I think,
Well,
I mean, they're getting better, but
I
I
kind
mean,
of
in the past, 6 months or so, they're getting better as far as like the comics. They have Harley Quinn and they're doing new Batman books and some other stuff. But
Definitely.
yeah, definitely.
Gotham Academy, of course.
When they say our core values, it gets a chuckle. So I mean, hopefully they stick to their guns, and this does mark a change in that.
Hopefully.
And hopefully they learn their lesson, not to scrutinize more carefully the stuff that has the DC logo on it.
Yeah,
Right.
and who was Batman's wife?
Besides Talia for like 5 minutes and Selena in the
so,
movies.
like, are we training to be Talia, or are we
I
training
do
to
that.
be
We're training
like,
to
Batwoman?
die.
So,
That's basically.
That's perfect. Well,
Batman's life partner is Justice, and his mistress is Gotham. So,
that's true.
are we
actually.
training to be Justice? Like the embodiment of justice? Are we training to be Gotham? Are we training to be the Knight?
That's funny. No, that's what he is. If
They
you'll
need to be more specific. Which wife are they talking about? Because Batman has a lot of them.
Yeah,
Shame
I think
on
we should
you,
go
Batman.
with Justice. He's married to Justice.
Justice.
Yeah. Let's go to law school.
Oh God.
No, I mean, going back to what you said earlier about the second shirt, Justin, I felt like, at first glance, it looked like a lot of other shirts I'd seen online, and I'll admit on the Communicast in front of God and my wife and the internet as a whole that I've coveted a workout shirt in the past that said my ideal weight is Jared Padalecki on top of me. But when you're marketing the same to teenage girls, even without the overtly sexual content, I love you. Even without the overtly sexual content, it's just completely different, and it's pretty inappropriate, especially when like the Target gendered baby clothes, and that's nothing new because we found some really disturbing pacifiers and other gendered things at Target before, with like the girls' pacifiers being like hot pink with like full blowjob lipstick swax on the front of it, and that was disturbing. And apparently they in DC, as a collaboration, are continuing to fail because they're releasing cute little baby jumpers for newborns up, right? And for the boys, it's essentially things like Future Superman, and for the girls, it's I Only Date Superheroes, which is basically, same song, different album, and keyboard. So
I found a cool one.
Obviously something. What is it?
It was a one for a newborn, and it said, "I just spent 9 months in the Batcave."
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
So that was cute.
Gendered. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's plenty of other things to put on baby and youth clothes. So hopefully they turn a corner. I want to have
Yeah.
faith that they'll do it.
They're paying lip service
I think. Yeah.
star. Let's just. I'd really like to see their shirts pulled as possible.
Yeah.
Same. So I think we covered that pretty well. And I mean that was basically it for this week. There's nothing else that were there any other news stories that you guys saw from the past week?
Didn't see anything pop up.
Not comic-wise, no, I don't think. I've heard mixed reviews about the second episode of Gotham, so
I liked
I
it.
hear little Bruce is really cute. I need to watch this show.
you've been keeping up with the episodes. I guess there's only 2 so far.
Yeah, there's only 2. Gotham's been pretty good. So is Shield. They're both of those shows I think are off to a pretty good start. And I should also mention that we're doing new posts in the comic book community for each episode that airs. So if anybody wants to discuss it in written form, we're doing those every week. So yeah, I guess that does it for news. I guess in our last segment, we like to talk about the other stuff we're doing besides comics. So whether it's something we watched, a book we've read, even back issues, games you played, whatever, doesn't matter. So Sarah, do you have anything that you've been doing over the past week?
Aside from nursing my unfortunate solitaire addiction, I've been. What was that? I did pick up a book this week, and I probably put it right back down. I honestly think I've been pretty boring lately. I've only been like playing cell phone games and going to and from work. So
That's all good.
Well, I oh, poor baby. Yeah. Oh, I've been reading or rereading Ursula K. Le Guin's The Farthest Shore, which is a book in her Earthsea trilogy, and it's very fantasy. It's a high fantasy going off to figure out what is wrong with magic, and there's some cute little kid who's probably like future king hanging out like, wow, this is the coolest wizard ever, I love him so much, let me write his name in my notebook with like big glittery pens, like he's literally in love with this wizard. So it's really fun to read, and I've been slacking off on playing Tales of Xillia too, because it's a game where you're in colossal debt all the time, and that's too close to home.
Yeah, Sarah talked about that a little bit last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. It's been. Oh yeah. No, that's true. I'm watching her play Tales of Xillia too. I did a thing. Yay.
So for me, last week I both read the book and went to see the movie Maze Runner. It's a start of another young adult kind of dystopian future type story. There's nothing real original here. Like it's just all the staples of this kind of story that are there. But it's a compelling story. I enjoyed both the book and the movie, and I'll definitely be reading the other. I think it's a trilogy. I'll be reading the other books very soon. As soon as I read, I got Gone Girl's next because that movie's coming out. But yeah, I would definitely recommend both. The movie was surprisingly good because it's been a while since I've seen this type of movie that's been actually entertaining. All the actors are pretty good in it, and yeah, I don't want to like say too much about it because it'll spoil stuff. But I definitely recommend reading and watching the movie, especially if you're a young adult book fan.
Yeah. Yep. Young adults on the show tonight. Read Gotham Academy. Don't buy T-shirts from DC at Walmart, and go watch this movie. In that order.
That sounds good. All right, I think that about does it for us. Where to find us and all of our episodes on cbcpodcast.tumblr.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/comicbookcommunicast, and our audio version is on iTunes and RSS for the other podcast apps, so you can subscribe and rate us there as well. And we also appreciate any shares, likes, +1s, tweets, whatever, anything to spread the word. Thank you, and have a good night.
Night.